Welcome back to the Great Canadian Blueprint. My name is Ian, and today we're stepping into a turning point in Canada's story: the decline of the fur trade and the nation's bold pivot to agriculture. The Hudson's Bay Company's trading posts, once alive and well, were beginning to go quiet. But as one chapter closes, another bursts open. Across the prairies, golden wheat fields stretch as far as the eye can see, and cities like Winnipeg began to rise in new ways. This wasn't just a shift in trade, it was a transformation that rewrote Canada's economy, reshaped its real estate, and redefined its society. At the heart of it all stood the Hudson's Bay Company, adapting to survive. So, how did Canada outgrow the fur trade, and what did it mean for the nation? Let's find out. For over 200 years, the fur trade powered Canada's economy. In the 1830s, the HBC was processing 100,000 pelts a year, mostly beaver, each fetching about a British pound in London, equivalent to about $250 today. Forts like York Factory and Fort Garry buzzed with activity, linking Canada's wilderness to European markets. But by the 1870s, this engine was sputtering. Why? First, overhunting had ravaged the beaver populations. In some regions, numbers crashed by 90% by the 1850s, leaving trappers empty-handed. Second, fashion shifted. European elites swapped beaver pats for silk ones, cheaper, sleeker, and free of the frontier grit. Demand collapsed and pelt exports nosedived from 100,000 annually in the 1830s to just 20,000 by the 1880s, an 80% decline. Then came the railway and steamboats. The Canadian Pacific Railway, finished in 1885, sliced through the HBC's monopoly. Independent traders in growing hubs like Winnipeg and Vancouver used these new routes to bypass the company's posts, offering goods faster and cheaper. An 1880 HBC report captured the mood perfectly. The days of the trapper are numbered. The future lies in the soil. By 1927, the HBC was breeding foxes on farms, a final nod that wild fur's reign was over. As the fur trade faded into the abyss, Canada's prairies stepped into the spotlight. Wheat became the new gold. By 1900, Canada exported 10 million bushels annually, worth $10 million, far outstripping the fur trade's peak. European hunger for grain, paired with Canada's vast fertile plains, sparked an agricultural revolution. Immigration fueled the boom, attracted by government policies promoting settlement. Between 1896 and 1914, over 2 million settlers immigrated to the prairies, with 57% from Britain, 19% from the US, and a significant number from Europe. The government targeted skilled farmers through publications like Canada West Magazine, distributed in the US and Britain and translated into French, Swedish, German, Dutch, and Hungarian for ethnic communities. These campaigns, led by Clifford Sifton as Interior Minister in 1896, offered bonuses to transportation recruiters and promoted journalist tours, drawing settlers from rural Britain and America. Many of these people settled in block settlements, where ethnic groups formed small colonies preserving cultural identities. These settlers, often escaping overpopulation, high land costs, or discrimination in Europe and the US, found Canada's offer of free or affordable land irresistible. For instance, high land costs in the American West pushed some Americans north, while Europeans like Ukrainians, facing landless tenant conditions, saw Canada as a fresh start. Between 1891 and 1911, Manitoba's population tripled to 461,000, with Winnipeg ballooning from 25,000 to 136,000. Over 1 million settlers arrived in Canada by 1910, drawn by promises of land and prosperity. Farmland prices soared from $1 per acre in the 1820s to $20 by the 1870s. The prairies transformed from a fur-trapping frontier into a breadbasket. The sale of farms, especially in the prairies, contributed substantially to Canada's economic growth. Between 1872 and 1930, over 600,000 homesteads were granted, covering more than 80 million acres. By 1931, land under field crops in the prairies increased from 1.5 million to 16.4 million hectares, boosting wheat exports to 10 million bushels annually by 1900. This agricultural boom fueled related industries like railway and grain elevators, with Winnipeg's grain exchange processing $10 million in trades yearly by the 1880s. Winnipeg became the center of the shift. Nicknamed as the Gateway to the West, it grew around Fort Garry, an old HBC post. By the 1880s, its grain exchange, founded in 1887, was processing $10 million in trades yearly. Warehouses once stuffed with pelts now held grain. Rail lines stitched new towns into the landscape. Places like Regina and Saskatoon each tethered to the wheat economy. Canada wasn't just surviving the fur trade's end, it was thriving. As farmland spread, traditional territory shrank. The 1885 Northwest Rebellion, led by Métis and Cree leaders like Louis erupted over land loss and broken promises. The HBC's sale of land prioritized settlers, often sidelining Indigenous rights. By 1900, Indigenous land holdings in Manitoba had shrunk dramatically, with many confined to reserves. The environment suffered as well. Beaver depletion, driven by centuries of trapping, disrupted wetlands, cutting biodiversity and altering water flows. The shift to agriculture doubled down on this, clearing forests for fields. Debt systems tied Indigenous trappers to the HBC, and land policies favored expansion over stewardship. Progress, it seemed, left deep scars. That all said, the fur trade's end wasn't a collapse, it was a reinvention. Canada swapped pelts for wheat, diversifying its economy and fueling growth. The HBC, once a fur monopoly, became a retail titan and a real estate powerhouse. Its department stores still dot Canada's cities, and its land sales shaped urban grids from Winnipeg to Victoria. The fur trade's echo lingers in property markets, cultural memory, and even the beaver on the Canadian nickel. That's all I've got for today. Join me on the next video as we dive into the wheat and the lumber industry that further shaped Canada into what it is today. If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.